Welcome aboard Rocket Ship, the platform with the most relevant content for competitive examinations. This is Rocket Ship IAS Lab and continuing with our series on answer writing for general studies papers of civil service main examination. We take up a question that you might encounter in GS paper 1. Here goes the question. Gupta period ushers in developments in classical Indian culture that were to prove far-reaching. Illustrate. As you can see, this is quite a straightforward question. But the point is, these questions actually present you an opportunity to display your width of knowledge rather than the depth, your width of knowledge, that is how diverse you know about you could say the subject matter of the question. You have this opportunity of displaying this to the paper checker, and this would be a cardinal sin to miss this opportunity. So whenever you encounter these type of questions which are really simple, which are actually quite straightforward, what you are supposed to do, that you straight away go with displaying all that you know about this question. Even if you are being short of time in the actual examination situation, you just mention, you just list down the examples. Even without explaining them, you simply mention the examples that you have, that you can actually recall. Anyway, the point is, the question itself talks about illustrating these points. So you are supposed to make as many examples as you can think of. What we are doing here, we are introducing an answer with going into the historical background of the Gupta Empire. That is, the Gupta Empire ascended in the wake of the Kushan dynasty. Developments that characterized Indian culture during the Mauryan, Satavahan and Kushan period became still more pronounced during the Gupta period, which is generally dated to the 3rd to 6th century of Common Era. Guptas contributed elements to both material and intangible culture that have become defining features of Indian culture. Again, this is a very, very important scheme that many important, you could say, many renowned organizations, etc., follow. One of which is UNESCO. UNESCO generally categorizes the aspects of culture as material culture and then an intangible culture. You might have heard this terminology that UNESCO has categorized some of the heritages as part of intangible heritage of mankind. We are actually following the same scheme here, and we are talking about the Guptas' contribution to material culture as well as the intangible culture. Intangible culture would include things like spiritual culture, the intellectual culture, etc., the intellectual developments, etc. We are also fortunate, coming to the sources of Gupta period, we are also fortunate that with the advent of Guptas, historiographical records are easily available. They become easily available. Works of Aryabhatta, Varahmihir, Kalidas, etc. can be corroborated. They can be actually backed up, can be corroborated with observations of chronicles of the Chinese pilgrim Venerable Fahian. You are probably aware that Fahian visited India. Fahian, the Venerable Fahian, who was a Buddhist Chinese monk, Buddhist monk of Chinese ethnicity, he visited India during the Gupta period, and he has left quite some, you could say, detailed records of that period. This, along with inscriptions of Samudragupta, whose Prayag Prasasti is well known, Chandragupta II, whose Maharauli pillar inscription is as well known, Askandgupta, who leaves Bhitri pillar inscription, and Kumargupta, from whose period we have Bagram Charter. A minor correction that we have to make here, that Kumargupta actually precedes Askandgupta, that is, Kumargupta first ruled before Askandgupta. All of these help us form an accurate picture of the Gupta period. Gupta's contributions to cultural domain covers both material as well as the spiritual and intellectual aspects of culture. Gupta's contributions to classical Indian culture covered areas like architecture and sculpture. We have the example of Nagar style of temple architecture, that is the North Indian style of architecture, temple architecture that actually originated during the Gupta period. Coming to sculpture, we have the monolithic colossal statues. Monolithic, that is carved out of one piece of rock, and colossal means large. So we have the examples of monolithic colossal statues, one of whose examples is the Varaha at Iran. We also have the Sarnath school of sculpture, which you can as easily understand that it is a part of the Buddhist tradition. Then comes metallurgy. We have the example of Nalanda bronze work. We also have the example of Mahrauli pillar, which is a rust-free pillar. So this is quite some this has actually exhibited quite some wonder among the people, because it has been rust proof, it has been rust free after the passing of such a you could say long period. Coming to the performing arts, we can say with some confidence that drama was well developed during the Gupta period. Then comes the literature. We have examples from both secular literature. We can cite the examples of Kalidas and other, you could say, literators. We also have the examples of Dharma Sutras. Dharma Sutras actually digests of Indian law, Indian jurisprudence. Dharma Sutras do with Indian law or Indian jurisprudence. We also have developments in spiritual culture. One of the happenings that is dated to the Gupta period is Hindu consolidation. That is, the ideas that define Hinduism became solidified during the Gupta period. We also have scientific developments. We have already mentioned the names of Varahamihir, Aryabhatta, etc. All of them contributed to, you could say, the advancement of the sciences to a great deal. Elaborating on these points, the northern Nagar style of temple architecture with the sanctum Garbhagriha topped by a curvilinear shikhar developed during Gupta age. We are almost certainly aware of the basic ground plan of the Nagar style of temple architecture. That is, it has a, you could say, rectangular or rather sometimes even a square Garbhagriha, which is generally topped by the curvilinear shikhar. So this is a basic ground plan of the Nagar style of temples, and this actually started, you could say, this was actually started during the Gupta age. Moreover, the Panchayatan plan of Hindu temples too developed during the Gupta age. We have defined the Panchayatan style elsewhere. What it actually means, there is a central shrine and 4 minor shrines along the corners. This is a ground plan that is seen in some of the Gupta temples, probably in Devgarh as well. The Devgarh, well known, the renowned Devgarh temples, which are generally dated to the Gupta period, had a Panchayatan style of plan. We have examples from sites like Devgarh, which we have just given example of, which is in Madhya Pradesh, Bhumara, which is in Madhya Pradesh, Bhitargaon, which has the earliest extant existing brick temple in India, it is in Uttar Pradesh, and Maniyar Buddhist Mutt, which has circular ground plan, and it is at Rajgir, Bihar. All of these are specimen of the Gupta temple architecture. Are archetypes of Nagar. In sculpture, the Guptas contributed generously. A notable feature is the colossal monoliths like the Adi Varaha, that is Varaha avatar of Vishnu, at Iran, Madhya Pradesh, which is 11 feet high, and it's a theriomorphic depiction of the deity. That is, the deity is depicted in the form of an animal, that is the wild boar. The Sarnath school of Buddhist sculpture, which is well regarded for their, its specimens are well regarded for their graceful rhythmic abhang pose. Graceful rhythmic abhang pose inspired South Asian art as well. We would like to repeat that the Sarnath School of Architecture, which is well known for its graceful rhythmic Abhang pose, it inspired the Southeast Asian art as well, the Southeast Asian Buddhist sculpture as well. What Abhang pose essentially means, in the Abhang pose, the deity, or generally the subject matter of the statue, is depicted in a, you could say, slightly tilted form rather than standing stiff. He is, you could say, slightly tilted, and this gives him a rhythmic form, the graceful or rhythmic form, which is, you could say, a feature of the Sarnath school of sculpture. The Gupta smith, that is the Gupta metal smith, did wonders with metal work. Nalanda bronzeware that came into its own during Pala period probably originated during the Gupta period. Many scholars actually say that the earliest development of the Nalanda bronze can be dated back to the Gupta period. The more than 2-meter high Sultanganj Buddha in bronze too has Gupta provenance. That is, it originated during the Gupta period. The rust-proof iron pillar of Maharauli is a witness to the mastery of the Gupta iron smith. This pillar bears an inscription, that is Maharauli pillar bears an inscription which is often attributed to Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. Coming to literature of the Gupta period, Kalidasa's Vikramorvashyam, coming to actually performing arts, Kalidasa's Vikramorvashyam has a pivotal act, that is a pivotal episode where a play is depicted being performed. That is, it says that a play is being performed. This lends us confidence to conclude that drama was a regular performance in the Gupta court. Again, you can understand very, very well if a literary work actually mentions something being, you could say, performed, something being happening. So we can say with some confidence that this would have been a regular feature of the, you could say, that period. That is, in this case, drama was being regularly played in the Gupta court. Coming to literature, both secular and religious literature flourished during Gupta period. Kalidas and his works like Kumar Sambhav, Abhigyan Sakuntal and Meghdut are a fixture in Sanskrit literature. They are actually very, very important for Sanskrit literature. We have already made a mention of Vikramorvashyam. Then the two great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, attained their mature form by Gupta time. A notable development of Gupta period is the compilation of Dharma Sutras, which are works on Indian jurisprudence, Indian law. Examples can be given of Yagyavalkya Smriti and Narada Smriti, which are often dated to Gupta period. These are actually Yagyavalkya Smriti and Narada Smriti are works on Indian jurisprudence, that is, they are Dharma Sutras. Coming to the spiritual domain, Gupta period heralded consolidation of Hindu tradition into a systematic philosophy. That is, Hindu tradition became systemized. Bhagavatism, that is the worship of Vishnu as a god, or Bhagwan, became the dominant strand, while Saivism continued enjoying patronage. That even Saivism had enjoyed patronage of the Gupta rulers. The concept of avatar came into existence. We have just seen it through the example of the Varaha at Iran, because Varaha is considered an avatar, or that is a reincarnation of Vishnu. So we can say with some confidence that the Gupta actually believed in the concept of avatar. Worship of Shakti or Shaktism, that is the feminine essence of the divine, was popular, as the Mahishasur Mardini statue at Udayagiri cave complex shows. Actually, this is a very, very important, you could say, find in Gupta art, Udayagiri caves, because they have examples not only from the Vaisnavite, Savite, as well as, you could say, Shaktism stream, but also from Jaina specimens also. So we can say with some confidence that all these streams of, you could say, Indian spiritual tradition had come into currency during the Gupta period. Coming to scientific developments of Gupta period, which were as far reaching. The Maharoli pillar, whose example we have already given, vouches for the excellence in metallurgy because it has been rust free after such a long time passing. The polymath, that is an expert in fields more than one, the polymath Aryabhat and his disciple Varahamihir contributed to diverse disciplines. Their work challenges superstitious dogma and gives rational explanation of natural phenomena like eclipses. According to us, this was actually their greatest contribution. The greatest contribution of Aryabhat and Varahamihir was that they challenged the prevailing dogma, which was often in the form of some superstition. And one of the examples that is often given, that they disproved the concept of, you could say, the supernatural in the case of eclipses. Previously, it was often said that Rahu and Ketu cause the eclipses, but we are certainly aware of the story how Aryabhat disproved this concept and he gave natural explanation for the for the occurrence of the eclipses. Then their understanding expanded to concepts like trigonometric tables, which was probably discovered, which was probably invented by Aryabhat and refined by Varahamihir, place value system, decimal system, and other concepts like binomial expressions, etc., which laid the groundwork of later day advancements in mathematics. Another example of scientific development that we can make of is Dhanvantri, who was in Chandragupta's second court and is considered a doyen, that is, you could say, a foremost figure in Ayurveda, that is Indian medicine. Dhanvantri is probably the same historic person after whom the deity Dhanvantri is based. We are not quite sure whether they were the same persons, but it is generally said that Dhanvantri was an actual historic person. He was an actual person who was patronized by Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. So this was all on Gupta's contribution to the classical culture of India. We have seen how the aspects like material culture as well as the intangible culture like the spiritual, scientific, etc. had great contributions seen during the Gupta period. This is all for today. We would bring you another lecture in a few days. As usual, we wish you all the best. Thank you.